Hello. So recently I did a video on free sample libraries you have to try. We're now going to graduate from that and talk about some not so free samples. But if you haven't already, check out that previous video, download some free sample libraries, have a mess around with them, mess around with the samples within the digital audio workspace of your choice before you even start looking into paying for samples. Get familiar with the free stuff, and then once you kind of know what sort of music you're writing, where you want to go towards, then start looking into paid stuff, because you'll honestly be surprised at how good the free stuff really is, especially when you've already paid for a digital audio workspace. Some of the stuff that it comes with is actually pretty good, and if you spend a bit of time with it, you can make it sound pretty good. But we're going to move on now. That's a whole different video. We've already done that. Check that one out there. We're going to now be talking about stuff you might want to pay for. And I did actually mention about this one in the free video simply because the amount of stuff you can actually use on Kontakt 6 is incredible. Now, Kontakt 6, if you don't already know, is the industry standard sampler, and you can create your own samples using this, but also there are so many free samples out there for this piece of software, which you'll find on Piano Book as well, which we talked about in the previous video. And I know it says £359 there. Don't have a heart attack. You can get it for a great price. I believe I only got it for £100, and they're always doing sales and different deals. And if you purchase any instrument that works within Kontakt Player, which is the free version of this, which a lot of libraries run off of, you can get a crossover upgrade, which is what I did, and which is what cost me only £100. So my first tip really with paying for samples is never ever pay full price for anything. There are always sales, there's always discounts out there, so don't pay full price. The other beautiful thing about Kontakt is it does come with some instruments. You get the Analog Dreams, Ethereal Earth, hybrid keys, so you get some nice little things with it as well. But as I said, the host of free stuff out there for Kontakt is ridiculous. Piano Book is a great place for that, and just type in Kontakt instruments to Google, you'll find plenty of them. And it also unlocks some of the cheaper sample libraries you'll find certain companies make as well. So that's Kontakt 6. It's created by Native Instruments. So moving on, we're now going to talk about another company called EastWest. They're quite famous for the sample libraries like Hollywood Strings, Hollywood Brass, etc., etc. They do a subscription-based service, which can be really good for those starting out, maybe with not a lot of money, or you just want to dip your toes into it, and you may be just kind of thinking about getting into this sort of thing. It's great if you're not quite sure which direction you want to take, because with the subscription service, you have access to basically all of their sample libraries. And there's two different services. You have the Composer Cloud X. Right now, as you can probably see, they're doing a sale. They're always doing different sales and special offers. So I keep saying this, I'm going to say it again. Don't buy things full price. So the Composer Cloud X service, you get basically 2 mic positions for all the orchestral choir piano libraries, while if you go for the Plus, you have access to all the mic positions. That's the major difference between the two services, and you are paying about an extra $10 or whatever that is in your currency for that. And so this is great because, as you can see there, you have access to the entire EastWest Composer Cloud Gold collection, and with over 40,000 virtual instruments. So you've got so much to play with there, and you can really get a sense of where you want to go with your music, or just download everything. But I can tell you that's going to take up a lot of storage, and as it says there, that's over 13k worth of libraries. It's absolutely crazy. But we're going to move on quickly again, and now we're going over back to a common company I talk about, Spitfire Audio. I use a lot of their stuff. I absolutely love it. But we're going to talk about their originals, which are great because they're so cheap. They're all £29, dollars or euros, and they now have quite a few things. Everything from the Media Toolkit, which I recently did a review on, check that out. Cinematic pads, Jungle Box piano. They do a lot of different pianos, but they also have some great drums right here. They have intimate strings, epic strings, cinematic percussion, epic brass and woodwinds. So especially if you're veering more towards the orchestral stuff, or you're looking for some sort of decent piano. Originals are great for starting out. They're that step up from that free stuff. It's a step up from their labs, which are available for free. Check those out. They're right there. And highly recommend. They don't take up a lot of storage. Again, if you're dipping your feet, maybe you're doing this as a hobby, these are really good little sample libraries. They have their own UI. They're great for, as I said, just dipping your toes in, and the quality is excellent. That is one thing with this company, Spitfire Audio. They're a London, British-based company, really friendly, really good customer service. I've had to deal with them a few times with just things not working. That's just technology. But there we have it, they're originals. Now, moving quickly on, again, we're going to talk about Orchestral Tools. They're the guys who did the Sign Factory stuff here, the free couple of instruments, which will continually grow. They've only got a few at the moment. But what I love, they recently kind of revamped their website, and they're slowly transitioning everything over. They haven't quite got everything like it yet. But what you can do, for example, if you want one of their bigger libraries, like for example, LA Sessions, brilliant little library. If you want something not orchestral and a bit more band based, you can go over to the instruments, and instead of purchasing the entire library for just about €400, not including VAT, you can just purchase the Western guitar for €13. So if you don't want all this other stuff and you're like, I'm not going to use this, I already have bits and bobs that I like from this, you can go, well, I just like their Western guitar, and you can purchase that for a fraction of the cost, which is brilliant. As you can see here, single instruments available from €5, although I think that's the body percussion. I don't know if you'd really want to buy that by itself, but you can if you want. They're quite famous for, if I can find it, they're quite famous for the Metropolis arc. These are epic samples where if you really want that big orchestral sound, you really can't go wrong with Metropolis Arc 1. They have recently been releasing some cheaper sort of sample libraries called their organic samples. They have some really beautiful ones. The Solar Opera one, absolutely amazing. The Majestic horn, this is my all-time favorite horn. Would highly recommend. For the price of a coffee, you cannot go wrong with that. And probably for what they're most known for, and when I was in university, my lecturer said the ultimate orchestral library you could probably ever buy is the Berlin series. The Berlin Strings, Berlin Woodwind, Berlin Brass. Those are absolutely stunning. If money is not a problem, that's where you're going to go. But we're going to move on quickly because we kind of just jumped from 0 to 100 then. And we're going to talk about another product which I talk about a lot, and that is the BBC Symphony Orchestra by Spitfire Audio. If you're looking for an all-round orchestral library, the Core would be my recommendation. Now, you only have one mic position with this, but you have every single instrument in the orchestra with a beautiful range of articulations. If you're wanting to do orchestral music, do not buy ensemble patches. Don't have strings, brass, woodwinds. There's your tracks. Don't need anything else. Use individual instruments. No matter what, this applies to every single sample library I ever talk about. Always use individual instruments. It makes it sound so much realistic if you just have one patch, especially if you're riding the mod wheel, the dynamic fader, to give it some realism. It's so much better if you add your own personal touch with individual instruments, some sounding slightly louder than others at times, and you can create so much more realism. It takes so much more time, but you want it to sound good. You want it to sound different. If it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And my personal recommendation would really be that middle one. If you're getting into paid work, you can then upgrade to the professional if you really want all those extra mic positions, and if you want the solo instruments as well. The Core doesn't come with the solo. If you want that extra, just that extra little bit, there is the professional. That is a full orchestra. Absolutely beautiful product. And other things they do, the Albion series. This is the first library I ever bought, was Albion 1. This was before BBC Symphony Orchestra and all that. This it's the, well, start scoring movies now. It really was kind of advertised for people to just out of the box. This is your first sample library sort of thing. And it really is a nice little library. As I said, you really want to stay away from ensemble patches. This has bases everything off ensemble patches, but when you're starting out, it is a nice little library, and I got a lot out of it, and I made some quite beautiful tracks. But those are the places I would go to if you really want to start looking into some not so free sample libraries. We have Native Instruments. You can explore their collection of products, but Contact 6 is a great place to start because you'll find so many more doors are open. EastWest, their Composers Cloud, is brilliant. If you're dipping your toes in and you don't want to quite purchase anything yet, their Spitfire Audio have, of course, their original series, which is only £29, euros or dollars for individual little products. And of course, they have their bigger stuff like BBC Symphony Orchestra and their Albion series for those one-hit big orchestra, everything included sort of thing. Yes, they do have individual patches. They have strings, brass, woodwinds. If you are looking for something solo string wise, I cannot rave enough about the Spitfire solo strings. Beautiful library. Again, discounts, always look for sales. Don't buy full price because they can be very expensive. Another one I didn't talk about, but I'll quickly go over. The British Drama Toolkit actually is a different approach, and if you're looking for something less orchestral, more, I guess, drama, as it kind of says, those are great places to start. They have a contemporary one as well. It's a different way of sampling the way they've done those. Definitely check them out if that's your cup of tea. And finally, Orchestral Tools. These can get a bit pricey, but the quality is outstanding. It's a German company. German stuff is just amazing. Applies to everything. And they do some really wacky and interesting stuff as well. Saxophones. If you're into your jazzy stuff, actually Orchestral Tools do some really nice jazzy sort of stuff that I would highly recommend. While Spitfire Audio avoid the saxophone like a rotting corpse. But that's everything. We're going to leave that video there. Let me know if you want me to dive deeper into any of these companies, any of the samples that they do. And of course, if you want more, like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. Don't pay free stuff. Wait, what? Don't pay free stuff?